Dragon Age Veilguard is complete woke propaganda trash, and everyone knows it. Turns out you can have top surgery scars in this game, because of course you do. And, well, I'm not playing that garbage, but I know a man who is literally insane enough to do it. And that is this guy. That's right, it's Az, boys. Anyway, let's go.
It really is the last chance saloon for BioWare. If Dragon Age Veilguard fails as a video game, I'm pretty sure that EA are going to shut the company down. It's
good. BioWare hasn't produced anything of value for 10 years at this point. Get out of here.
Had miss after miss over the course of the last decade or so. They need something to go their way. So with one final throw of the dice, what are they betting it all on? Double mastectomy.
Dude, the way that Az is currently on display here, I think he's actually standing. It's the standing desk or whatever. It looks like he's a leprechaun. He's just missing a green hand, and there we go. Az is now a leprechaun. That is beautiful.
Scars and pronouns.
Hell
because
yeah.
Western Gaming Company.
I can't, by the way, wait for the losers who are gonna say, "Oh, it's just optional." Your life, sadly, is not optional.
Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel vs. Babyface. At the end of next month, Dragon Age Veilguard releases, and let's be totally honest, it's a game that's had a very troubled development cycle, but when you know that BioWare is the company that's making it, then it doesn't become a surprise at all. All the people that made this developer a wonderful company back in the day have left, and now we are left with remnants of...
See? He has a point, by the way. All of the people with talent have left. The same thing with Bethesda, the same thing with Ubisoft, the same thing with a lot of things. This is why I am never a fan of a product. I typically am not a fan of almost anything in particular, because things change, people change, companies change, and who cares that, you know, once this company made good things, now it's making trash. And I don't want to eat slop.
Of people who are more interested with inserting current day politics apparently than making a decent game, because this goes far beyond the character creation screen. Mass Effect Andromeda was a complete and utter disaster, not only because they didn't know how to use the engine properly, but in terms of world design, characters, dialogue, storytelling, quest development. The whole thing was a mitigated disaster. Nice. And even back in 2017, Eurogamer are bitching about the failure of trans representation within that game. Because this...
Well, there's a reason Eurogamer is dead, and thank God. And I for one, am gonna vote, the less we have this kind of representation, the better. Why would I care about them if they're gonna probably find the self-delete button in like a month or two anyway?
Isn't about entertainment, it's about the insertion of far-left ideology. Not just that, exceedingly controversial ideology, which we'll get to later. BioWare attempted to cope by saying the failure of Mass Effect Andromeda was due to Zelda, which, as we all know, is a bunch of crap. Soon after, BioWare Montreal was closed down, aka merged.
Everything Canadian should just evaporate into the void.
Merged together, but closed down. It was shut down. EA, who loves to shut down companies, shut it down.
Good.
The Mass Effect franchise went on hold, and their next big game was going to be Anthem. What could possibly go wrong with... Oh god, everything went wrong with Anthem. Why Anthem failed and why it was never destined to succeed was actually a very true headline. Anthem was never destined to succeed because BioWare never knew what Anthem actually was. If you look into the history of the game, it's literal mismanagement 101 from start to finish. And even...
Yeah, effectively, they only decided what Anthem is gonna kind of be 3 months months before the game should have been released. And until that point, no one even knew what Anthem was going to be because everyone was just arguing about that.
When they decided to release some gameplay footage from it at E3, it was an on-the-rails, put-together cutscene, and even then, the company didn't know what on earth they were doing in terms of the design of the game. EA wanted 6 million copies of the game to sell that March, and it sold only 2, a third of what they wanted, and so it was soon after decided that Anthem would no longer be supported as a video game, leaving customers that did make the purchase exceedingly angry and was a huge black spot for BioWare, as well as another unmitigated disaster for them. The only franchise that BioWare had left was Dragon Age, and everything wasn't plain sailing for that franchise either. Dragon Age Origins being exceedingly well received across the board, Dragon Age 2 fell very short of that indeed. And then when Dragon Age Inquisition came out, it proved to be exceedingly divisive amongst the Dragon Age fans. So Dragon Age 4, well, that has to hit the mark, because if this fails, it really does look like BioWare goes under.
But he, him, she, her.
Hell yeah, look at this. And look at who's playing. Oh my lord. Wow. Good job, BioWare, getting your, like, 3, maybe 4 people playing this game. This is just so wrong in so many ways. I'm not saying we need a purge in the world, but the world is just messed up, and we kind of need to fix it.
And they, them, and then your gender is man, woman, non-binary. Top
Yay!
surgery scars are also included in this for all of
yeah!
our trans and non-binary rooks out there.
I wonder if that's like an employee, not an actual player. Because, dude, did you see the creative director? We saw it in yesterday's video. I did not know it's the creative director. Someone commented about the fact that was a creative director. Holy! You know it's cooked. You know it's gonna be the worst game ever.
There is nothing I love more. Taking my headphones off.
Classic.
Yeah, we're back here again, folks. The never-ending cesspit that is the Western gaming industry. Are you pro-child mutilation? Well, good news. You can live out that fantasy in the new Dragon Age game.
Hell yeah.
But before we even start to go down this avenue, let's just address the game itself. This is the game director, somebody that goes by the name of Corinne Bush. Surprisingly enough, their X account tweets seem to be protected.
Yeah,
for
we
some
saw
reason.
this
Who
yesterday.
knows why? And Corinne is actually a trans female, aka a man who would like to identify as a woman. Wow, this is so spooky because I'm recording this video live for me. However, by the time you watch this video, I'm now in the future. I'm probably doing the laundry or the dishes or flicking my bean or something. And yet, even though this is the past for you, I collectively heard so many people that are watching this video when I said that last segment go, oh.
Yeah.
Out loud. How queer! Let the internet just do their thing. And on the left is an image of them from 2020, and on the right is an image of them from 2021. That's not a long time
How about we just don't show these images?
ago, and coincidentally enough, just so happens to be around the period that stuff like this got very trendy. Wow, I'm sure it's just a massive coincidence.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a coincidence all of Megan Fox's kids are trans also. The 50% trans kids in Hollywood, yeah, I'm sure that's also a coincidence. Oh, man. People who are slaves to trends, bad. That's really bad.
that this sort of ideology actually affords you wonderful protections in current day, particularly because government, corporation, media, entertainment, and education, they all espouse this same ideology, that they hire people based off the color of the skin, their ethnicity, their gender, their sexual orientation, and no longer their skill sets, that they must fulfill certain quotas within their company to bring these people on board, whether or not they're trained to do so, qualified to do so, or possess the skill levels to do so. And yet, if you try to get rid of this ideology or people within this ideology, then you're subject to cancellation, termination. I mean, I am positive all of this is just a coincidence. Especially
It always is.
if you were a straight white male, and
the bad one.
Very thing that your ideology despises the most. Imagine the levels of protection that it would give to you if you became something different. Aesthetically, the game is taking a huge change in direction as well.
I talked about this. Dude, this is... Oh, wait, I'm in front of Az. Well, here you can see his baldness again. Okay, dude, this guy has like a dagger strapped in his front. For what purpose exactly? So enemies can do this, whoop, 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 and you're dead? I don't know, probably. Aesthetically, this makes no sense.
There's not necessarily anything wrong with changing the aesthetic. However,
there's nothing wrong with changing the aesthetic, but there is wrong changing the aesthetic to whatever the hell is this Fortnite-inspired garbage.
But when I see imagery like this, then all I see is a Critical Role wannabe. It doesn't feel like the aesthetic was something brand new and created to fit the Dragon
Yeah, I have not watched Critical Role, so I don't know about that.
Age world. It feels like they're just big fans of current day desktop popularization and have gone along with that trend. After all, Dragon Age is dark fantasy, and what I see on the screen here seems to just be the generic fantasy that we get in current day, almost AI generated, very Critical Role, very Wizards of the Coast. It doesn't seem to have its own identity.
Aw, why do you have to stab me in the heart, Dad's mentioning Wizards of the Shitty Coast?
Imagine the fucking irony there, eh? From what I've seen of the combat so far as well, it does appear to be rather clunky in nature. However, combat can be very deceptive because watching something...
I don't know about this. Again, I don't think this game is going to be a success. I think the story is going to be bad. I think the graphics are going to be pitiful. I think the games in general are going to be shit. But if there is something that this probably is going to be decent, maybe even good, it's probably going to be the combat. It's going to be at the minimum decent, I think. And unless enemies are just unbelievable damage sponges. And the skill tree for your skills, that's what it's called, skill tree, I guess, it also looks pretty decent. And that's it. I think the combat is going to be fine.
It doesn't necessarily translate to how you play it, but I certainly have my reservations and doubt at the moment, particularly when a lot of it seems to be stopping to bring up menu screens, to hit an ability, to use in a fight, to then go back into the action combat. The two don't necessarily merge together particularly well. So let's get back to the insertion of ideology for no other reason than to push your ideology, for no other reason than to pander to the people because of this ideology, but also to show the hypocrisy of this ideology. If you want to look like some zipper-tit Californian, then yes, you can create that fantasy. What's wrong with that?
All of these characters look like... As you're again in the wrong place! Jesus, stop! Where was I? Oh, yeah. Yeah, all of these characters look like androgynous twinks, by the way.
You can create whatever fantasy you want in this character creation screen. Unless, of course, you want to create an attractive woman. As somebody who personally identifies with...
Oh, God damn it!
Busty Asian ladies, I was very distraught to find out that this is the biggest boob size and ass size that you can get in the game.
Yeah, I heard about this one. Flat and flat because everyone needs to be ugly. 10 out of 10 modern day.
game, aka Ironing Board Annie. But more importantly, what if you are a woman playing this and you are busty? Or you have a big ass.
Well, that doesn't exist as much as we know, given, you know, the social justice warriors and woke people who talk about this. Beautiful women have never existed. It's a pure fantasy. A woman that is slim, has a decent voluptuous A and front, they don't exist. Selma Hayek is just a figment of our imagination. It happens.
Want to see yourself with those assets in the game. The game's saying, no, you can't. Because there's probably a very good reason that there's a limitation on the breast size and the ass size. And that's got everything to do with male gaze. Because when you start to insert ideology into your video game, it only goes one fucking way. Every time, all the time. We're also dealing with an ideology that is aggressively trying to invade women's spaces, from their private and personal areas through to their sports, through to their jobs, all in the name of stunning and brave.
Listen, I don't mean to be progressive, but everyone knows men are better women than women. It just makes sense.
So if you want to play this silly beggars game of inclusive, but in the same breath be excluding of other assets, then you are...
The paradox of inclusivity, no, the paradox of tolerance, excuse me. You need to be tolerant of everything, except you need to be intolerant of intolerance, which makes it effectively a giant victimhood game. Who can be the biggest victim, and that's kind of it.
You are a massive hypocrite and simply allowing what you want to allow, aka your affirmed ideology. So we are now meant to believe that in this fantastical world of magic and monsters that your character wanted to have a sex change. Not only that, there wasn't the magic to create that. However, there was the skilled surgery to be able to perform the operation, even though if you wanted to have a sex change, do you know what you could have done? Made a male character in the character screen.
Yeah.
You could have just made the other gender in the
character. No, that's not inclusive enough, you bigot.
Character creation screen, because somebody that's truly trans, somebody that truly does suffer from gender dysmorphia, which must be horrendous, and I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, would do that. They would create the other gender, the gender that they wished they were. So now it's not about fantasy, now it's about fetish. So that's why you include the non-binary and the they, them, and that sort of absolute nonsense, which will only go to alienate portions of your potential audience, because as we all know, unless
who honestly cares? This game is gonna be a bust. Everyone knows it.
You agree wholeheartedly, fully go along with the narrative of the far left, then you are an Austrian painter. And if you want to express an opinion about this as a customer, you will quickly find that you're branded a bigot, an ist, a phobe, an ism, because you won't go along with the narrative. And shout out to George for this. But if you're gonna do the
oh Jesus,
chest operation, why aren't you doing the forearm operation? Doesn't your ideology stretch that far into the budget? I mean, after all, it probably cost a lot more money to redo every
Okay, we're done. That was our boy as 10 out of 10 heel babyface, and have a nice day. Bye bye.